This man did the craziest thing imaginable. He bit the vampire queen on her neck. Why did he do it? And what happened to him afterward? That's what we'll discover in our story. Our story begins with a meeting of an intelligence team, where their supervisor briefs them on the target of their next mission, a beautiful girl known by the alias Snow White. The team leader, Kim, raises his hand and asks the supervisor why she's called that when she's not Caucasian, but looks like an ordinary Asian woman. He also questions why someone who appears so frail would be a target for them. The supervisor responds, asking Kim not to judge people by their appearance or race, and reveals that Nana, known as Snow White, is the current leader of the most powerful Yakuza gang in Japan. She earned her nickname due to her role as the largest dealer of pure cocaine. The supervisor continues, informing the team that Nana is planning a drug-related party at a hotel, and this will be their chance since the number of guards will be limited. Their mission is to eliminate Nana and prevent a large amount of drugs from entering the country. To make it seem like a gang conflict, they are forbidden from using firearms during the mission. At this point, a man wearing glasses steps in and tells Kim that this mission will be tough, which is why Kim was specifically chosen. He is the only one capable of completing it. Kim responds confidently, assuring them he won't disappoint. The scene shifts, and we see Kim stepping out of an elevator at the hotel where the mission is to take place. As soon as he exits, he is confronted by a group of gangsters who are surprised to see him. One of them shouts, asking what he's doing there. Kim informs his teammates that he's already inside. He then pulls out a knife, and upon seeing it, the gang members prepare to fight. Kim begins advancing slowly, then suddenly rushes at them with great speed. The gang members don't hesitate and launch their attack. One of them tries to stab Kim with a knife, but Kim parries the attack, disarming him and slashing the man's throat. The gangster grabs his neck, trying to stop the bleeding, while another attacker approaches Kim from behind, attempting to strike. We flash back to the briefing room, where the supervisor had been detailing the mission to Kim. He tells him there will be 10 non-combatants to eliminate, and it's expected that there will be over 20 fighters at the location. Kim asks how many people he will need for the mission. The supervisor responds that 2 others should suffice. After a moment of thought, the supervisor asks if Kim thinks that number is too high, to which Kim replies that since this is an elimination mission, they need to be fully prepared. Back to Kim at the hotel, where he remains confident that no matter how many Yakuza members are present, no one can defeat him and the 2 people he considers his brothers. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the hotel, we see a figure holding a blood-dripping curved knife. He wears a mask and a black suit, standing over a pile of gangsters' bodies. Through his earpiece, he asks the protagonist if he finds the mission too easy. The protagonist responds by telling him to stay focused on the task. It is revealed here that the protagonist and his 2 partners form the Hell's Elite Squad, one of the most powerful intelligence teams in the world. After each member of the team finishes eliminating the gangsters they're facing, they head toward the location of their target. Standing before the door, the protagonist tells his companions that everyone inside will be under the influence of drugs, and there's only one exit, so they need to block it and kill everyone inside. He reaches out to open the door, and he and his 2 partners are stunned by what they see. Numerous bodies lying on the floor, as if a massacre has taken place. The protagonist quickly orders them to search for their target among the bodies and shuts the door. They follow his instructions, and darkness fills the room until they hear a girl's voice asking who they are. A chandelier in the room lights up, but the protagonist struggles to open his eyes fully as they haven't yet adjusted to the brightness, preventing him from seeing clearly. The girl asks them what their intentions are now that they've blocked the exit and closed the door. The protagonist and his companions are shocked to realize that the girl before them is Nana. They notice a dark red aura emanating from her as she holds a woman's head in her hand, then casually discards it. At that moment, the protagonist's companions are filled with terror, while the protagonist feels, for the first time in his life, that they are facing death itself. Nana speaks to one of them by name, leaving him stunned. She then slices off the head she was holding and throws it toward him, telling him to catch it. The man is caught off guard as he grabs the head, and before he can comprehend what's happening, something resembling a bullet pierces the head in his hands, passes through his neck, and he falls dead within seconds. The second man, enraged by his comrade's death, charges at Nana in an attempt to avenge him. The protagonist tries to stop him, sensing something unnatural about the situation, but he's unable to. Within moments, the second man's head is also pierced, and his blood splatters across the protagonist's face, who remains frozen in shock. Nana smiles broadly and says to the protagonist, "No matter how many insects there are, they're still just insects, incapable of doing anything." The protagonist, deeply enraged after witnessing what happened to his companions, struggles to contain himself. He realizes that the being in front of him is not normal at all. At that moment, Nana flicks something toward him with her finger. The protagonist is startled when he focuses on it and realizes it's a tooth. The tooth speeds toward him, nearly impaling him, but he dodges it at the last second, receiving only a small scratch on his nose. Nana expresses her amazement at the protagonist's ability to notice and dodge her attack, then begins forming a handful of teeth in her hand. She uses them to unleash rapid-fire attacks, resembling bullets, aimed at the protagonist. However, he moves swiftly and manages to dodge them all. The protagonist attempts to get closer to Nana and rushes at her to deliver a direct strike, but before he can touch her, she grabs him by the face and throws him with the force of a baseball player. He crashes to the ground and struggles to get up, unable to believe what's happening, wondering what kind of power this cursed woman possesses. But Nana doesn't give him time to dwell on his thoughts. She leaps high into the air and lands on his leg, crushing it under her foot. The protagonist lets out a scream of intense pain, while Nana smiles and raises her knife. She tells him that she's impressed by him, then plunges the knife into his hand, commanding him to keep entertaining her. Our protagonist begins to grow enraged when he hears Nana describing what she's doing as fun. He struggles to stand and asks her if she truly believes killing is enjoyable. Shouting in her face, he questions her certainty. Suddenly, he resorts to the only way he can attack her. He bites her neck with all his strength. Nana begins to bleed, shocked by his actions. But the protagonist doesn't stop there. He grabs a broken piece of glass from the ground and stabs it into the same spot. Smoke starts to rise from Nana's body, and she collapses on top of him, motionless. The protagonist feels a sense of relief, believing he has finally avenged his fallen comrades. He apologizes to them for not being able to save them, though he suspects he'll soon be joining them. Suddenly, blood starts pouring from his eye and mouth, and he begins to scream. In that moment, Nana regains consciousness. She pulls the piece of glass from her neck and tells him that biting her was quite an impressive move. The wound quickly heals itself. The protagonist is stunned, questioning what kind of creature he is facing. But before he can process it, he is struck with an intense, unfamiliar pain. Nana tells him not to bother trying to understand, because it won't lead to any answers. The protagonist begins convulsing, bleeding from everywhere, while Nana watches, remarking that she's never met anyone quite like him and hopes he can keep up. The pain becomes unbearable, and he grips the knife still lodged in his hand as his veins bulge as if about to explode. Eventually, he collapses, utterly powerless, lying still on the ground. Nana looks at him with disappointment, calling him pathetic. At that moment, a group of her men enter the room, asking if she's all right. Infuriated by their presence, she kills one of them with a single strike. The others remain frozen in fear. She coldly orders them to clean up the bodies and prepare for their return to Japan. The scene shifts to a ship in the middle of the ocean, carrying barrels filled with bodies to be disposed of, including the body of our protagonist. One of the workers in charge of the disposal notices something strange and calls his colleague's attention to it. His colleague responds with a smile, pointing to the protagonist who appears to be standing on his feet despite supposedly being dead. He reassures him, saying the protagonist is definitely dead, just like Whitebeard, dying while standing upright. The first worker wonders aloud about the amount of hatred the protagonist must have harbored to die in such a way. He puts out his cigarette on Kim's neck and tells his colleague to bury him quickly so he can rest in peace. But then, they are both shocked when they see the burn mark from the cigarette disappearing from Kim's body. Kim suddenly regains consciousness, refusing to die until he gets his revenge on Nana. The two men standing before him can't believe he's still alive after everything that happened to him. The scene shifts again to the moment when the protagonist was about to enter the room where Nana was with his comrades, but he suddenly finds himself alone in a strange place. A hand appears behind him, choking him, and he's left confused, not understanding what's happening. Nana then appears, and multiple hands emerge from her body, wrapping around Kim entirely. She approaches him, congratulating him on his success and telling him that he's now a vampire. Kim opens his eyes in a panic, realizing it was all a dream. The sun is shining brightly, and he finds himself aboard a ship floating in the middle of the sea. He struggles to his feet, discovering his body is naked and covered in blood. A severe headache overwhelms him as he tries to remember what happened, but fails. He is horrified to see that everyone on the ship has been brutally murdered, their bodies torn to pieces. For a few moments, he stands in shock, wondering who could have done such a thing. At that moment, a man wearing a suit and a mask appears on a small boat and calls out to Kim, telling him he's from headquarters and asking him to join so they can take him back. After a while, they reach land, and Kim gets into the car with him. Kim asks what happened on the ship, but the man responds that they are still investigating. Another man sits with them in the car and tells Kim that he successfully completed his mission, then asks if he feels tired. Kim replies that he's fine, and the man suggests he take a nap since they have a long journey ahead. The man turns to Kim while speaking, and it's revealed that he's wearing a gas mask. At that moment, a sleeping gas starts to flow through the car's ventilation system. Kim begins to choke, asking what they're trying to do, but neither of the masked men responds. Kim loses consciousness as the gas takes effect. One of the men takes out a phone and calls someone he addresses as the boss. informing him that they've captured the specimen. It becomes clear that the boss is the same man who had worn glasses and assigned Kim the mission initially. The boss congratulates the man for their hard work and instructs them to take Kim to the lab for immediate dissection. After hanging up, the boss's hands tremble with excitement. With a crazed smile on his face, he mutters that he's finally gotten what he has been seeking. After some time, the car carrying Kim arrives at the lab, and the boss orders all the researchers to gather at once. They open the car trunk to extract Kim, and the boss is eager to begin the experiments on him. However, when one of the researchers opens the trunk, he is horrified by what he sees. Instead of finding Kim, he finds the two masked men dead. The researcher is stunned, and before he can utter a word, a bullet strikes him square in the forehead. Suddenly, a barrage of bullets erupts from inside the car, taking down all the surrounding men one by one. The boss stands frozen in shock, and within seconds, he is the only one left alive. At that moment, Kim steps out of the car. Upon seeing him, the boss is paralyzed with fear for a few moments. He quickly turns and starts running as fast as he can, screaming and ordering all units to eliminate Kim immediately. Meanwhile, Kim is calmly preparing his gun as a group of armed men rush toward him. One of them attempts to stab him with a knife, but Kim blocks the attack and shoots him in the head. He quickly dispatches two others with precision shots. Just then, another man tries to exploit Kim's momentary distraction to kill him. However, Kim dodges the attack and shoots the man's elbow, causing him to drop the knife. Kim then finishes him off with a shot to the head. Noticing two more men charging at him, Kim swiftly retreats to evade the first attack, grabs the first man's arm, causing him to lose his balance and fall. Kim then shoots the second attacker and drives the knife into his neck to finish him off. Suddenly, Kim feels an impending danger and is shot directly in the head. The man who fired the shot approaches, declaring that they've finally subdued him. Kim appears lifeless, unable to move, and one of the men cautiously approaches to confirm his death. But Kim regains consciousness in an instant, grabs his gun, and, emerging from behind the car, continues to gun down anyone trying to eliminate him. The man who shot Kim is in utter disbelief that Kim is still alive after taking a direct bullet to the head. Kim strikes him, causing the gun to fall from his hand, and begins choking him as the man desperately begs for his life. Kim is seething with anger, unable to comprehend how these people manipulated him and his team, who had sacrificed their lives for the country, only to be used for someone's personal gain. We see a flashback of Kim in the car after killing the two men who had kidnapped him. He found documents revealing the truth, and after reading them, he decided to seek revenge against those who betrayed him. Kim moves toward the boss, who turns around in terror, watching as Kim brutally kills the man holding him captive with his bare hands, like a beast. Kim walks toward the boss, leaving a trail of bodies behind him, his entire body drenched in blood, making him look terrifying. Despite having endured multiple fatal blows recently, he is still alive. Kim doesn't fully understand what's happening to his body, but he isn't thinking much about it. He's focused on his usual mission, gathering information and eliminating enemies. The boss tries to calm Kim down, saying that he will explain everything. He attempts to justify what happened, mentioning certain circumstances, and even promises to help Kim get a promotion. Kim's response is a bullet to the boss's thigh, causing him to scream in pain. The boss pleads for his life, trying to talk again, but Kim cuts him off, demanding silence and an answer to his question. Kim asks what they did to him. The boss replies with vague statements about a misunderstanding, trying to stall for time. Kim responds by shooting him in the other thigh, again commanding him to speak clearly. Finally, the boss starts talking and asks Kim if he has noticed that he comes back to life even after dying, and that his wounds heal quickly. Kim is stunned as the boss continues, explaining that some of Nana's followers possess the same abilities. The boss explains that despite their recent rise, Nana and her gang have become the most powerful in Japan, largely due to the strange technology they have access to. That's why the organization was desperate to obtain this technology as well. Kim interrupts, asking if that's the reason they sent agents like him. The boss confirms this, saying they sent numerous agents before, but all ended up dead without gathering any information. So, they revised their strategy and decided to send someone exceptional, Kim. The boss goes on to tell Kim that he no longer has to worry about dangerous missions because of the power he has gained. He congratulates Kim on his hard work and says he will become a hero. But Kim, uninterested in this nonsense, shoots the boss in the shoulder. The boss screams again, asking why Kim keeps shooting him after he's told him everything. Kim grows even more furious and tells the boss that he's talking about making him a hero, while he had planned to turn him into nothing more than a specimen. He asks if the boss realizes the horror he and his team endured during the mission, and accuses him of failing to gather enough information before sending them, even when he knew things weren't normal. Kim blames the boss's greed for the deaths of his comrades, saying that if it weren't for that, they would still be alive today. The boss, still reeling from Kim's accusations, replies angrily that even though Nana's gang may possess strange abilities, they are still human in the end. He reminds Kim of his earlier words, when he had said he couldn't lose to mere humans. Then the boss starts shouting at Kim, claiming that this is his job and that if anyone should bear responsibility, it's Kim himself. He becomes more agitated, declaring that they did their duty by awarding medals to Kim's fallen comrades, and asks what all the fuss is about. Kim loses control, kicking the boss hard in the face. He pulls a knife from his pocket and tells the boss to prepare to feel the pain his comrades experienced, warning that this night will be long for him. The boss, now terrified, begs Kim to wait, but Kim doesn't listen and moves to attack. Just before Kim reaches him, a gunshot rings out, hitting the knife in Kim's hand, causing it to fall. Kim turns to see several cars arriving, packed with soldiers who demand that he surrender and drop his weapon immediately. The boss yells at them, asking why they took so long to respond to his call. The troops quickly dismount from the vehicles and form a line in front of Kim, ready to open fire. Kim senses danger as he sees the soldiers preparing for an assault and frantically searches for cover. However, before he can move, the soldiers open fire, and Kim is riddled with bullets all over his body. He collapses to the ground, and one of the soldiers orders them to cease fire. The boss stands up, walks over to Kim's body, and begins mocking him. He tells Kim that he should have listened to them and cooperated from the beginning. He adds that despite his regeneration abilities, neither Kim nor the Yakuza followers can withstand a barrage of gunfire. The boss laughs derisively and tells Kim that he's done enough and it's time for him to rest. Just then, a girl hanging from the ceiling calls out to the boss, catching him off guard. She asks if the man lying on the ground is Kim and introduces herself as one of the Yakuza members the boss had been talking about earlier. The boss, shocked, quickly orders the soldiers to eliminate her. The troops fire at her, but she vanishes in the blink of an eye from her spot on the ceiling. Suddenly, the girl appears behind the soldiers, and one of them shouts a warning, but she moves with incredible speed, slicing through them one by one. She continues slaughtering the soldiers mercilessly, and they cannot keep up with her extraordinary agility. The soldiers try to fire at her all at once, but they are stunned when they see her deflecting the bullets with her swords. She approaches one soldier and swiftly decapitates him. Another soldier, frozen in shock, watches his comrade's head fly through the air, but he doesn't have long to process it as she quickly sends him to join the fallen. Meanwhile, a sniper carefully lines up a shot, aiming at the girl's neck and pulling the trigger. The bullet speeds toward her, but to everyone's astonishment, she slices the bullet mid-air with her sword. The soldiers, now gripped with panic, wonder what kind of monster this girl could be. While they're lost in fear, she continues her deadly rampage with unmatched skill. She stabs one soldier in the neck and swings her blade to sever his head. It isn't long before she has wiped out all the soldiers in the area. The girl approaches the boss, swords in hand, and stands before him. The last thought that crosses the boss's mind is that the girl is undoubtedly a monster, before she swiftly decapitates him with her blade. Afterward, she moves toward Kim and starts kicking him, as if trying to wake him up from a nap, despite the fact that he had taken more than 20 bullets to his body. The biggest surprise comes when Kim actually gets up. The girl informs him that Lady Nana ordered her to bring him to her. Upon hearing Nana's name, Kim forgets the pain and becomes consumed with rage. He stands up, showing clear signs of transforming into a vampire, and commands the girl to get out of his way. Annoyed, she responds that Lady Nana asked her to bring him, but didn't specify whether it had to be in one piece or several. The fight between Kim and the girl begins immediately. The girl is impressed by Kim's ability to keep up with her in combat. However, Kim starts feeling weak and wonders if it's due to the massive amount of blood he's lost. He realizes that the longer the fight goes on, the worse his situation will become. The girl continues her relentless attacks, and Kim knows he has no choice but to execute one last plan. At that moment, the girl acknowledges his strength, saying he's held his own for quite a while, but she declares that this is the end for him. She strikes his weapon aside to expose his abdomen, then drives her sword through his body with all her strength, impaling him completely. Kim is severely affected by the blow, blood pouring from his mouth. But the biggest surprise comes when he grabs the girl's hand, the one still holding the sword embedded in his body, and tells her that he finally managed to catch her. The girl is shocked, unable to believe that Kim had purposely planned to take her strike. The battle between them becomes even more intense, with both fighters using everything they have, trying to finish the other off. Eventually, both Kim and the girl collapse to the ground after sustaining deadly injuries. Kim recalls how Nana's wounds healed quickly when he struck her neck before, but this time, he's sure that he inflicted fatal damage to the girl he's fighting. Kim lies on the ground, bleeding heavily from his severe wounds, his hand severed from his body. Despite this, he's confident he's won, seeing the girl's body lying before him, her head separated from her torso. Just as Kim starts losing consciousness from exhaustion, he wonders if he will die again. However, he is stunned when he hears someone praising what he did. Looking up, he sees the girl, who had been decapitated, holding her head and reattaching it to her body. Her skin, arteries, and muscles heal in seconds, as if nothing had happened. Kim is in disbelief at what he's witnessing and tries to move, but he's too weak. The girl approaches him, raises her sword, and congratulates him on his efforts. She then informs him that when he wakes up next time, he'll be standing before Lady Nana. With that, she strikes him with the sword in a precise spot, cutting off his blood flow and rendering him unconscious. By this time, the sun is about to rise, and the girl is in a hurry to take Kim and leave quickly. But she's shocked when she sees him moving again, standing on his feet despite everything she's done to him. Kim launches another attack, but she tells him it's pointless. She pulls her sword from his stomach and slices off both of his arms, stating that he won't be able to do anything anymore. Kim, surprisingly, lands a direct punch to the girl's face just seconds after regenerating his arm. The girl is stunned, and before she can react, Kim launches a swift attack, injuring her arm. He doesn't stop there. He bites into her arm. As Kim begins sucking her blood, he transforms into a ravenous beast. Realizing what's happening, the girl quickly severs her own arm, but the detached limb remains connected to her, causing her unbearable pain. She realizes that if this continues, she'll lose everything. She leaps backward, trying to create distance between herself and Kim, who has drained the blood from her arm, leaving it completely dried up. The girl watches Kim nervously, unsure of how to handle his overwhelming power. Kim seems to have lost control of himself, turning into a rampaging monster. As Kim roars like a beast, he is suddenly shot. The girl is also caught off guard and uses her sword to deflect the bullets, but one manages to hit her. She's even more startled when she notices smoke rising from the wound. At that moment, the attackers reveal themselves, a group of men wearing specialized equipment and carrying advanced weapons. The leader of the group steps forward, a woman who appears to be a priestess. She smiles and murmurs a prayer, asking the Heavenly Father to accept the 2 souls she's about to send to him. The girl is shocked to see the priestess and her group. The priestess orders her followers to open fire, and the soldiers obey, targeting both Kim and the girl. They fire relentlessly, aiming for their legs, clearly trying to incapacitate them. Kim and the girl collapse to the ground under the barrage of bullets. The priestess commands her troops to stop shooting and instructs them to burn Kim. The soldiers unpack their bags and pull out crossbows, firing arrows into Kim's body, which is unable to move. The arrows, attached to electric currents, send violent shocks through Kim, causing him immense pain. The girl, lying on the ground, is shocked to see the sun rising. The moment her skin is exposed to the direct sunlight, it begins to burn. The priestess approaches her and asks if it hurts, then mockingly tells her that the flames of hell will be far more painful. Furious at the priestess's taunts, the girl screams, calling her a pathetic human. She tries to attack the priestess with her sword, but the priestess blocks the strike with her leg and stomps down on the girl's hand, crushing it. The girl screams in agony, shocked by the priestess's strength. The priestess sneers at her and asks her to repeat what she just said. Then, with cold disdain, she says that she will kill both her and Kim, whom she assumes to be the girl's ally. At that moment, the priestess turns to look at Kim and is astonished by what she sees. Kim is standing on his feet despite all the electrical shocks he has endured, but what shocks the priestess more is that he remains unaffected by the sunlight. As the priestess stares at Kim, the girl seizes the opportunity and flees as fast as she can. The priestess is torn between chasing after the girl or helping her men deal with Kim. One of the soldiers, still in disbelief that Kim hasn't died yet, fires at him, but Kim continues to move toward him, unfazed by the bullets. Kim is on the verge of finishing the soldier off, but at the last moment, his hand is severed and flies through the air. The priestess had intervened just in time to save her follower. The priestess realizes that Kim has become incredibly dangerous and orders her followers to retreat. She decides to confront him herself, launching a swift attack. To her surprise, Kim blocks her sword strike with his bare hand. She's even more shocked when she sees him regenerate the arm she had severed earlier. Kim, filled with rage, throws a powerful punch at her, but the priestess dodges it with ease, smiling as a golden aura gleams in her eyes, indicating her excitement. The priestess unleashes her full strength, delivering a punch so powerful that Kim's abdomen appears to melt like molten lava. The force of the blow sends Kim flying into a nearby building, causing chaos in the area. The priestess approaches him, intrigued, wondering where someone with his power had been hiding all this time. However, Kim emerges from the smoke, much to her astonishment. As the dust clears, she sees him standing before her, holding the corpse of the treacherous boss, draining the blood from his body. The priestess is bewildered, wondering why Kim would do such a thing in the middle of battle. After regaining his strength, Kim tosses the body aside and lets out a monstrous roar. Seeing this, the priestess decides that Kim must be eliminated now, or he will become an uncontrollable threat. She raises her glowing sword, golden light radiating from it, and stomps the ground with such force that it cracks beneath her feet. She prepares to fight with all her might. But just as she's about to strike, Kim suddenly collapses to the ground, unconscious without warning. The girl who had been watching everything from the sidelines is stunned, unable to believe that it ended this way. Some time passes, and Kim opens his eyes to the sound of someone calling him team leader. He's startled to find the commander who had originally briefed him on the mission standing before him. The priestess is also present, and Kim asks her who she is. Before he can get an answer, Kim realizes that he's bound in heavy metal chains. The priestess, with cold indifference, tells him to listen carefully, informing him that he has been sentenced to death for being a vampire. Kim is shocked to hear this and laughs at the absurdity of it, dismissing the idea of vampires as a myth. But before he can finish speaking, the priestess bites her finger, allowing a single drop of her blood to fall before him. In an instant, Kim transforms again, consumed by an overwhelming thirst for blood, unable to control his primal urges. The priestess stops teasing Kim with her blood and asks him if he believes her now. Kim is left speechless, trying to comprehend what's happening to him. The commander steps in, explaining that, as unbelievable as it may seem, it's the truth. He tells Kim that they have footage of him rampaging on the ship. Kim recalls the bodies he saw on the ship and, from the commander's words, realizes that he was responsible for their deaths. The priestess speaks again, telling Kim that their attempt to take down Nana without understanding her true nature was a foolish move. Kim is shocked that the priestess knows Nana is a vampire, especially since not even national intelligence was aware of this. The priestess replies calmly, saying that this is to be expected because her mission, and that of her team, the Vatican Squad, is to hunt down and kill vampires. She places her foot on Kim's chest and tells him that, by their rules, they should have killed him. However, she offers him a chance to live, if he agrees to become her dog. Kim is taken aback by the offer, so the priestess elaborates, explaining that they have a common enemy, Nana. She proposes a collaboration to take Nana down. The scene shifts to a hotel where Nana is holding the body of the girl who faced Kim, or rather, the largest part of her. Nana is furious at her failure, and we see the remaining pieces of the girl's body scattered on the floor as she begs Nana for forgiveness. In that moment, Nana removes the girl's mask and begins feeding her her own blood. As soon as this happens, the girl gains immense strength, and her body regenerates instantly. Nana tells her this is her last chance and orders her to bring Kim to her. We then see the girl walking down an alley, being watched by a mysterious figure from the top of a building. Time passes, and the next day we see Kim sitting in a car with the priestess, Mera. Kim is lost in his thoughts, remembering the offer Mera made to him the previous day. Either die by her hand or become her dog. The commander had warned Kim to be cautious, as the National Intelligence Agency would likely target him for his actions. As Kim sinks deeper into his thoughts, Mera interrupts, remarking that she can't believe he's a vampire because he looks so normal. Kim asks why she offered him the chance to join her, and she responds that he should be grateful for the opportunity, as he was supposed to be dead. Kim then asks if she trusts him, to which Mera coldly replies that she doesn't trust him at all, but having a common enemy is enough for now. At that moment, they arrive at their destination, the headquarters of the Vatican team, known as the Sanctuary. Kim is surprised to see that it looks like an ordinary cathedral, and Mera explains that it's the perfect disguise. Kim grows even more curious when the car starts moving again, and Mera informs him that he can't enter the sanctuary because it's protected by holy relics that prevent vampires from entering. Since Kim is being hunted by Nana, Mera has decided to protect him herself, meaning he'll have to live with her. Later, Kim and Mera find themselves in a room at a hotel connected to the sanctuary. Mera realizes she hasn't properly introduced herself and tells Kim that her name is Mera, and she is a member of the secret Vatican team. Kim greets her and introduces himself as well. Mera then tells him that he probably has many questions, offering him the chance to ask whatever he wants to know. Kim asks Mera to tell him more about vampires. Mera explains that vampires can live forever as long as they feed on blood, and they possess physical strength far beyond human capabilities, with some even having special powers. She adds that most vampires are descended from the blood of ancient vampires, and Nana is the last remaining one of these ancients. Kim wonders if his transformation was the result of absorbing Nana's blood during their fight, and asks Mera how vampires can be killed. Mera explains that the primary method is exposure to sunlight, which burns them to death. However, she notes that Kim is an exception to this rule, which might be why Nana is so determined to capture him. Mera suggests that they might be able to use this unique trait to lure Nana in and eliminate her. To achieve that, Kim will need to strengthen himself, and Mera is willing to help him with that. She then asks if Kim understands the real reason he was brought here. Kim replies that he does. He was brought here because Mera is afraid of him. Mera is momentarily surprised by Kim's response. He continues, explaining that being the only vampire capable of moving freely under sunlight could make him the most dangerous vampire ever. At the same time, eliminating him would mean losing a huge opportunity. That's why they've chosen to use the common enemy excuse to keep him under watch and dispose of him if he turns into a threat. Mera smiles upon hearing this and remarks that Kim didn't become the best in intelligence for nothing. She admits that he's right, but adds that they're still serious about strengthening him to help take down Nana. With excitement in her eyes, she grips her sword and tells him that if he has any objections, now is the time to voice them. Kim confidently replies that he's already died multiple times, and as long as he has the chance to get his revenge on Nana, nothing else matters. Mara is thrilled by his determination and says that working with him will be exciting. Tilting her head slightly, she tells him that since they're done talking, it's time for feeding. Kim is caught off guard when she asks him to bite her neck. Confused, he questions her intent. Mira calmly explains that whether he likes it or not, he's now a vampire, and if he doesn't feed on blood, he will grow weaker and eventually die. She adds that, given he's clearly not willing to harm innocents, this is the only viable way for him to feed. Kim hesitates, standing before Mira, who urges him to hurry up because her neck is starting to hurt. After some hesitation, Kim finally complies and bites her neck. As he drains more blood, his desire to feed intensifies, growing uncontrollable. But then, he suddenly envisions Nana's face laughing wickedly before him, and he stops immediately, pushing Mara away. Mara falls onto the bed, but her face remains expressionless. Kim wonders if this overwhelming thirst for blood is part of a vampire's instincts. Mara remains silent for a few moments, then casually prepares to sleep, telling Kim that he should rest as well because tomorrow will be a long day. She turns her back to him and warns that if he tries to escape, she will kill him. Kim gazes at her neck, wondering if he will have to drink blood like this every day, but he resolves that he will do whatever it takes to get his revenge. He tells himself that even if his body has become that of a vampire, his heart never will. He silently prays for his fallen comrades to rest in peace, vowing to avenge them and take down the monster who killed them. Kim pulls the blanket over himself, preparing to sleep as well. Mara, who had her back turned to him, suddenly feels very embarrassed. She wonders if he knows that the room actually has a separate bed for him, or if she had forgotten to tell him. But even if she had forgotten, she still can't believe he decided to sleep beside her, especially considering that she's a priestess. Sharing a bed with a man is an extremely awkward situation for her. Mara turns towards Kim, questioning whether he might be a pervert. She becomes even more flustered, her face reddening with embarrassment. Still, she decides to close her eyes, ignore the situation, and try to sleep. She attempts to calm herself by reciting some prayers. However, she's startled when Kim, in his sleep, rolls over and places his hand on her stomach, then starts moving it. Mara is shocked and screams at the top of her lungs. The next day, in a private area, Mara appears as if she hasn't slept all night. She tells Kim that she's going to explain how to kill vampires since they aren't affected by ordinary weapons. Kim listens attentively, while Mara's handprint is still visible on his face. Mara explains that there are two effective ways to kill vampires. The first is to expose them to sunlight, and the second is silver. Even the mere touch of silver can cause excruciating pain for vampires, and using silver weapons to decapitate them or stab them in the chest is enough to eliminate them. Kim remembers when he previously encountered the purple-haired girl and wasn't able to kill her even after decapitating her. Mira continues, saying that aside from those two methods, vampires cannot be killed. She then asks Kim if he has any other questions. Kim apologizes for what happened last night, and Mara is caught off guard, her nerves flaring up as he mentions it. Just as Kim is about to finish speaking, Mara suddenly attacks him, looking both serious and fierce. Kim manages to block her strike and asks why she attacked him out of nowhere. Annoyed, Mara tells him to stop with the nonsense and reminds him that since she's already explained the basics, they need to get started immediately. Their goal is to enhance his combat abilities using the same techniques as Special Forces training and to strengthen his vampire powers through blood. Mara charges at him quickly, telling him to be ready if he understands what she's said. She attacks with force, and Kim blocks her punch before counterattacking, but she easily dodges. Kim had thought no human could stand up to a vampire, but Mara was proving that he still had much to learn. Despite this, he continued to train with her day after day, determined not to give up no matter what. Over time, Mara began to notice significant improvement in Kim's skills. As their training continued, someone suddenly entered and apologized to Mara for interrupting. Mara asked if it was an emergency, to which he replied that it seemed she had to head to the sanctuary immediately. Mara was surprised, but said she'd get ready and leave right away. She told Kim to wait for her and assured him she wouldn't be long. She got in her car and drove off toward the sanctuary. Meanwhile, a mysterious girl stood atop a nearby building, watching the scene unfold. It became clear that she was a vampire. The girl pressed her hand firmly against the wall, muttering that she had finally found Kim. We shift to Mara, who is on her way to the sanctuary. She asks the person accompanying her if he knows the reason for her being summoned. He replies that no one has told him anything, and he doesn't know any details about the matter. However, Mara is aware that only Vatican emissaries have the authority to summon her in this way. When she arrives at the location, she finds one of the emissaries waiting for her. Mara greets the emissary and asks him why he's come to this place. The emissary welcomes her, saying it's an honor to meet her and thanking her for her hard work. He expresses the Vatican's gratitude to her. Then, getting straight to the point, he asks if she has recruited a vampire into her ranks. looking at her with a sharp gaze. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, everything seems normal as Kim sits in his room. A man in a black suit approaches the front desk, where the receptionist greets him and asks if he'd like to make a reservation. The man agrees and is asked for his ID, along with whether he'll be reserving for just himself or others as well. The man replies that he's accompanied by quite a few others and then pulls out a knife instead of an ID. Before the receptionist can react, the man throws the knife into his head, killing him instantly. The receptionist's colleague is horrified, paralyzed with fear at the sight of her coworker dead before her. The bystanders who witnessed the scene begin to scream and flee in panic. 3 hotel security guards rush in. One of them instructs his colleagues to evacuate the civilians and notify the control room, while he declares that he'll handle the attacker. But just then, a bright light flashes behind him. When he turns around to see what's happening, he's shocked to see a number of cars crashing into the building. A large group of gangsters emerges from the vehicles, armed with various weapons. They attack the 3 security guards all at once. One of the guards, enraged, asks how they dare storm the place like this and charges at one of the gangsters, managing to stab him in the chest. But the guard is stunned to see the wound heal itself in mere seconds before his eyes. The gangster who had been wounded is furious, retaliating and killing the security guard, who is left baffled by what just occurred. After quickly dispatching the 3 security guards, the purple-haired girl who had previously fought Kim appears, revealing her name to be Ayaka. She orders the gang members with her to capture Kim immediately. Coco, the girl who had been watching Mara and who is revealed to be the leader of Nana's 6th team, is also present. Ayaka praises her for her work and instructs her to destroy the control room before joining them. Coco eagerly asks if they will be able to feast after the mission, growing excited when Ayaka responds affirmatively. Coco bids her farewell and swiftly heads toward the control room. As for Ayaka, she enters the elevator, heading to the 18th floor. Ayaka remarks that since Mara isn't present, everyone left in the hotel is nothing but scum. However, she has still brought along some powerful subordinates, just in case of any unexpected situations, and is fully confident that she won't fail. But she is immediately shocked when the elevator doors open to reveal the bodies of all the gang members she had brought, strewn across the floor. Ayaka is in disbelief, unable to comprehend that all of her men have been defeated. She wonders if a high-ranking priest is present at the hotel. At that moment, Ayaka hears a voice saying, "It's been a while since they last saw each other." When she turns, she finds Kim standing there, asking her if she's been looking for him. The scene shifts to Mara, where the emissary asks if she has truly recruited a vampire into their ranks. He tells her that he trusts her judgment and will listen to the details during the next priest meeting, but he asks if she's noticed anything unusual about Kim. Mara confirms that she has. She adds that after observing him for the past 3 months, he has shown no signs of being a threat. Furthermore, he has continued to train with the Vatican's special forces with great determination and persistence. While she isn't entirely sure if Kim will lead them to ruin or salvation, she emphasizes that she once saw a vampire with red eyes standing in radiant light, seemingly referring to a prophecy or something similar. We return to Kim, whose hands are stained with the blood of the gang members he has killed. He tells Ayaka that she's saved him a lot of trouble, and he's going to end this today. The fight between them begins, and Ayaka is shocked by Kim's immense strength, wondering what he's been doing all this time to reach this level. Kim responds by repeating exactly what she had told him before. Grabbing her by the shoulder, he tells her that she's indeed endured enough, then sweeps her off her feet by tripping her. Pinning her to the ground, Kim raises his knife, preparing to kill her, telling her that this is the end. Ayaka, now terrified, realizes that her death is near, but she's surprised when Kim suddenly stops at the last second, just before the blade touches her body. Kim, too, is confused by what's happening, trying with all his strength to move, but he finds himself unable to control his body for some unknown reason. At that moment, a strange girl appears, laughing and saying that the lovers have gathered here. Surrounding the girl are several large snakes that devour the corpses scattered around the area, releasing green smoke into the air, which seems to be toxic. We learn her name is Katerina, the leader of Nana's 5th squad. Kim grows frustrated, wondering if what's happening to him is due to Katerina's special ability. Ayaka takes advantage of the situation and quickly escapes, pleading with Katerina to kill Kim immediately. Katerina reassures her, saying that's exactly what she was about to do. Katerina sends one of her snakes toward Kim, but it suddenly turns and bites Ayaka on the neck. Ayaka is shocked by the betrayal, and before she can react, a massive snake coils around her body, squeezing her tightly. Kim is astonished by Katerina's actions and her attack on her ally. Ayaka demands to know why Katerina is doing this to her, and Katerina responds by saying that she had always dreamed of having a doll that could withstand her treatment without breaking. Since humans can't handle it, she always wished for a vampire doll, but she never expected to get one so soon. Katerina then uses her power on Kim, commanding him to approach her. Kim is stunned as the knife drops from his hand, and he begins moving toward her against his will, completely unable to resist. Katerina tells Kim that from now on, he will be a slave, moving only according to her will. Ayaka realizes what Katerina intends and screams that Nana would never allow this. However, Katerina interrupts her, revealing that Nana has already approved. She adds that Nana said as long as Katerina brings Kim to her, she doesn't care about Ayaka's life or her useless friend. Ayaka is stunned by this revelation and insists that Nana could never have said such a thing, but she loses consciousness from the effects of the poison. Meanwhile, Kim is immobilized, bound by one of the snakes. Katerina approaches Ayaka and says she has endured enough despite her weak talent, and that she will put her to rest now. She orders the snake to swallow her, but at the last moment, Coco appears, excited, announcing that she's completed her task. However, upon seeing Ayaka's condition, she rushes toward her, asking if she's okay. Katerina tells Coco that it was Kim who did this to Ayaka, causing Coco to scream and cry like a child. Kim grows uneasy as he realizes that the number of enemies is increasing, especially since dealing with Katerina alone is already a major challenge. Katerina reassures Coco, saying that they've already captured Kim and instructs her to prepare to return to Nana. But Coco asks if Kim really was the one who did this to Ayaka. Katerina smiles and confirms it. At that moment, Coco's expression changes, and she questions why there's a scent of poison coming from Ayaka if Kim was the culprit. We flash back to a memory of Ayaka's past, where she's sitting in a container-like space, crying and wanting to go home. Coco approaches her, offering her hand and asking for her name. Back in the present, Ayaka suddenly opens her eyes in shock. Kim is beside her, asking if she's finally awake. Ayaka notices that Kim has rid himself of the poison and is now able to move, realizing that their healing abilities are on completely different levels. She asks him what happened with Coco, and he responds that things are not looking good. Ayaka, worried about Coco, struggles to get up and see what's happening. Coco is fighting Katerina and has managed to slice one of her snakes. Another snake attacks quickly, trying to swallow her, but Coco forces its mouth open with her hands, pushing with all her might until she splits the snake in two. Kim comments that Coco is fighting well for now, but she won't last long, explaining that Katerina's snakes and poison make getting close to her almost impossible. With exhaustion setting in, Coco won't be able to maintain her speed for much longer. Ayaka realizes that if things continue like this, Coco will eventually die, and she wants to help. However, Kim tells her that in her current state, she would only be a burden. Furious, Ayaka curses him, but Kim asks her to share any information she has about Katerina. Ayaka is surprised by Kim's request, and he explains that if they work together, they can defeat her. Ayaka scoffs at the idea, mocking the fact that he wants to team up with her despite trying to kill her moments earlier. Kim replies that it's the best option. Still unconvinced, Ayaka asks why she should trust him. She's caught off guard when she sees him approaching her with a knife in his hand, as if there's no other solution. At the same time, Katerina is feeling frustrated because she's had to use more of her powers than expected, which has cost her a significant amount of blood, especially due to her unexpected battle with Coco. She continues fighting with her snakes, puzzled as to why Coco hasn't been affected by the poison in the air. Katerina knows it's impossible for Coco to possess any resistance to her venom. At that moment, Katerina notices Coco's face turning red and is shocked that she's been able to endure this long. Finally, Coco gets close enough to deliver a powerful, direct blow, shattering the walls and throwing Katerina out of the building. Katerina's poison starts leaking through the hole, and Coco is finally able to breathe freely. Coco begins searching for Ayaka to save her, but she suddenly collapses to the ground, unconscious from the poisoning. She realizes that a small snake bit her leg without her noticing. Coco wonders if she underestimated Katerina and if she's still alive. Indeed, Katerina is clinging to the building wall using her snakes, climbing back to the room. She approaches Coco and tells her she knows how close she and Ayaka are, so she'll reunite them inside the belly of a snake. A giant snake lunges at Coco, who is paralyzed with fear and unable to move, but at the last second, someone intervenes, slicing the snake in half. Both Coco and Katerina are stunned by what happened, and it's revealed that Ayaka was the one who did it. Coco is overjoyed to see that Ayaka is okay. Katerina is shocked because she knows that only she and Nana should be able to neutralize the poison's effects, and she can't understand how Ayaka managed it. We return to the moment when Kim approached Ayaka with the knife after offering her an alliance. Instead of killing her, he cuts himself with the blade. Ayaka is taken aback and asks what he's trying to do. Kim replies that someone once told him, "The enemy of my enemy is my friend," and that's enough for now. He goes on to say that she must be feeling anger and betrayal after everything that's happened, especially when she almost lost her friend. He understands that feeling well. Ayaka is shocked when Kim extends his hand and offers her his blood to drink. She remembers a similar scene from the first time she met Coco when they were children. Back to the present, Kim stands beside Ayaka, facing Katarina, and asks her if she's ever heard the saying that the most dangerous person is the one with nothing left to lose. Kim adds that the reason this saying is true is because someone with nothing to lose will do the impossible, meaning that Katarina will surely die if she faces someone like him. Meanwhile, at the sanctuary, someone rushes to Mira and informs her that a large group of vampires has attacked the hotel. Mira is stunned by the news. We return to Kim, who begins his battle with Katarina. He recalls what Ayaka told him after he saved her from the effects of the poison. At that time, Ayaka explained that Katarina has the ability to turn her body into snakes and control them. If Kim is bitten by any of these snakes or inhales the toxic mist, his body will be paralyzed, allowing Katarina to control him. Kim thinks that the issue of the poisonous mist is no longer a threat due to the hole in the room, so all he needs to do now is get close to Katarina. The real problem, however, is her snakes, which keep regenerating endlessly even after he cuts off their heads. Kim continues to fend off the snakes with his silver knife, but he is shocked when one of the snakes swallows the blade. He realizes that Katarina is trying to strip him of his weapon. Sure enough, the snake pulls the knife from Kim's hand, and in the next moment, a large swarm of snakes charges at Kim, ready to strike. At that moment, Ayaka intervenes, slicing through the snakes with her swords. She throws a sword to Kim, telling him to stay strong and not give up just because he lost his weapon. She informs him that Katarina is consuming her own blood to maintain her powers, meaning she can't keep fighting like this forever. Her strategy is to exhaust them and then finish them off. Ayaka instructs Kim to go help Coco, assuring him that she'll handle the snakes. Kim agrees and rushes over to Coco, who is lying on the ground, weakened by the poison. He tells her that, for now, they're in an alliance, and after helping her rid herself of the poison, he asks her to support him and Ayaka in the fight against Katarina. He explains that it's the only way they can survive. Kim cuts his hand and pours his blood into Coco's mouth, and she quickly recovers from the poison after drinking his blood. However, Kim is taken aback when Coco suddenly attacks him after drinking his blood, knocking him to the ground. She jumps on top of him, pinning him beneath her. Kim feels a surge of anxiety and wonders if she's under Katarina's control, confused as to how this could have happened when he was sure he had freed her from the poison. Coco calls out to Ayaka, declaring that Kim is now under her control. Ayaka responds that Kim is no longer their enemy and that they are cooperating to defeat Katarina. Coco is surprised by this statement, and after staring at Kim for a few moments, she quickly gets up and rushes to help Ayaka fight Katarina. Katarina becomes increasingly frustrated by the situation, thinking to herself that her plan to use Coco and Ayaka to find Kim had been perfect, but she hadn't anticipated Kim helping them shake off the poison and turning them against her. Katarina smiles to herself, thinking that this level of cunning is exactly what she expected from someone like Kim, and her desire to capture him only grows stronger. Kim and the two girls close in on Katarina, getting closer to reaching her. However, just as they are about to, Katarina releases a thick cloud of poisonous mist around her, attempting to regain control of the situation. Kim shouts to Coco and Ayaka, telling them to hold their breath. The three of them stop breathing and wait for the toxic fog to dissipate through the opening in the room. Kim knows that Katarina's aim with this attack is to eliminate one of them, and he wonders if she will target him, as he's her main objective, or if she'll go after Ayaka because of her speed, or Coco, who had fought her on equal footing. Kim is startled when Katarina suddenly appears right in front of him, her attack aimed at Coco, whose face has turned red from holding her breath and who is unable to dodge the blow. Katarina sneers at Coco, telling her that she'll be the first to die for daring to touch her filthy body. Katarina's snakes surge toward Coco, but Ayaka intervenes, using her body to shield Coco from the attack. Coco screams in horror at what Ayaka has done and becomes deeply worried for her. Kim quickly jumps in, slicing the snakes with his weapon and forcing Katarina to retreat. He tells Ayaka to come to him so he can give her some of his blood to counter the poison. When Ayaka doesn't respond, Kim turns to check on her and is horrified by what he sees. He notices that one of the snakes has been cut, but its head is still clamped onto Ayaka's body. As the head falls to the ground, Kim is struck with shock at the sight before him. Coco, too, is in utter disbelief and begins screaming. It becomes clear that the snake had been carrying the silver knife Katarina had taken from Kim, and now that very knife is embedded in Ayaka's chest.